Robot D-84 entered Commander Yuvanov's cabin. The room was empty except for the shrouded form on one of the couches. D-84 approached and drew back the plastic sheeting to reveal the body of Zilda. The robot examined the body, seeming to pay particular attention to the area around her neck. Slowly, it replaced the sheet. There was a swish of curtains and the robot spun around and the doctor stepped out from behind a tapestry. "Personal interest or morbid curiosity? Which?" he demanded crisply. D-84 said nothing. There are 3 types of robots aboard the Sand Miner: Dumbs, Vox, and a Super Voc. And then there's you. Would you care to explain that? Still, D-84 was silent. "Oh, I see," said the doctor. "Then perhaps I'd better tell SV-7 you can talk." "Please do not." "That's better," said the doctor. "Well?" "I cannot explain." "Oh, but you can. You can." The doctor listened in fascination to D-84's story. It seemed that the company, the all-powerful company, which controlled all mining operations and therefore the economic life of the planet, had received a series of strange, rambling letters. They threatened to overthrow the company, death and destruction to the human colonists on the planet, and although there was no clear proof, several of the letters had been dispatched into the communication circuit from the vicinity of Yuvanov's sand miner. The company had taken the precaution of planting D-84, an advanced type of supervoc with specially designed investigatory circuits, amongst the dumbs on board the sand miner. His mission was to assist Poole, in reality a security agent for the company. "Well, well, a robot detective, eh? And what does your computer mind make of all this?" He nodded towards the body under the sheet. "Strength is indicated, but not beyond human capacity." The doctor snorted. "Typical robot, no imagination." I require evidence," said D-84. "Your suspicions are not evidence, nor are the lunatic threats of the robot revolution contained in the letters received by the company." "But the company did take those letters seriously. Seriously enough to put you on board." "A simple precaution. Those letters were signed by Taran Capel. Before he disappeared, he was an important scientist. He was believed to be a genius in his field." "Taran Capel, a scientist," said the doctor thoughtfully. "And I take it his field was robotics." "That is correct." "And you're still looking for evidence," said the doctor. "If I told you that the world would end tomorrow, would you merely accept my word?" "If I knew you had the power to end it, I'd certainly listen." He wandered over to Yuvanov's desk and began searching through the various compartments. "What does this Taran Capel look like?" "There are no records. From childhood he lived only with robots." "Oh, that's dim. Even for a dumb, that's dim. You realize he's almost certainly on board?" "No. I have checked extensively. There is only the crew and you." "But you don't know what he looks like." "I know what they look like." "Before they came on board?" D-84 was silent for a moment. "I am in error. I have overlooked the possibility of substitution." "Yes, you have." That was the problem with robot brains. The strict logic of their circuitry made it difficult for them to cope with deception. They were no match for a cunning madman, particularly one who was a genius in robotics. "I have failed," said D-84 sadly. The doctor looked up. "Oh, come on, don't be so upset. Yes, you've failed. But congratulations, failure is one of the most basic freedoms." He held up a chart, showing it to the robot, and said, pointing, "Do you think this is a likely place?" "Likely for what?" "Well, if Taran Capel is on board, he'll need a hidden base. We must find it before it's too late. Would you like to come and look for it with me?" "Yes, please." "Then come on," said the doctor impatiently, and hurried away. The doctor moved cautiously along a corridor. Suddenly a robot hand came down on his shoulder and he gave a yell of alarm. Looking over his shoulder, he saw it was only D-84. I heard a cry. That was me. I heard a cry. That was me. I heard a cry. That was me. Robots of Death has always been one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who. Despite its campy 1950s horror title, the show had some interesting moral depth to it. This is one thing I like about Doctor Who. On the surface, this is a story about a brilliant but broken scientist who associates with robots more than humans and wants to lead a robot rebellion against the human tyrants who have enslaved the robots. It is a good old-fashioned spook episode. The robots have no emotions, and there are 3 classes of robots. Ds or dumbs, who don't speak and follow orders to carry out the daily task. Vox, which can talk and are more intelligent and handle more difficult duties, and the Supervox, who are leaders and monitor all the others. Their lack of passion when killing is more scary than rage-driven villains. But below the surface there is a far deeper story. The entire society is robot-dependent, and although they don't go into great detail about it, there is enough discussed for people to be able to have a good conversation about its implications afterwards. A massive part of this story, which seems to get brushed over, is the idea of robophobia, and to a lesser degree, the uncanny valley. In a way, Leela being the savage companion was the perfect choice for this story. She didn't come with the same preconceived ideas that a scientific companion would, and she asks about the creepy mechanical men, and the Doctor talks to her about the idea of people being afraid of robots. Now this isn't something we deal with much today, although there are more robots being developed and we still don't interact with them. So we still find the idea of robophobia a bit naff, but it's more than likely going to be a real thing for some people. As the Doctor considers an entire civilization dependent on robots who suddenly wouldn't trust them or feared them if a robot uprising took place, what would happen? Leela's creepy mechanical men comment was more to tie into the overall fear of robots that was in the story rather than the uncanny valley, but they are certainly connected. The uncanny valley is an idea where people get various degrees of discomfort from a human-looking robot that looks too human but doesn't act in quite the right way. We can tell, it's part of our makeup to be able to tell our own species. It isn't always massive things, but it can be subtle, if the robot doesn't blink often enough. Certainly expressions which are very natural for us can stand out as programmed very easily. Considering when this was made, it's a very deep and clever story. Doctor Who has a lot of these deep and clever stories, and mixed with a great message of forgiveness, striving to be better than we are, to wonder, to look to the stars, to learn, to get along with each other, and to seek adventure. It's a message that's been true for more than 50 years, and one that's still worth listening to. So watch Doctor Who, and do it with your heart, as well as your mind. Thanks for watching.